My name is Jennifer. I work at the National Heart and Lung Institute. And I'm going to tell you today about some special characteristics of the structure of your lungs. But I'm going to go about it in a slightly different way than a lot of the talks that you've heard about. So I came to work at the National Heart and Lung Institute by way of physics. I actually am a physicist by training, and I've worked in biomedical engineering. I've worked in computer science. So how on earth am I working, and why on earth am I working in the National Heart and Lung Institute? Well, physics and maths can actually help us understand some of the really complicated stuff that's going on in biology and medicine. And this is the approach that I take to all of the things that I study. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is cauliflower lungs. So cauliflower lungs, that sounds a bit weird. Well, cauliflowers, as well as your lungs, have very special properties. They have a property called self-similarity. So I'm going to pass this around and have a look at the cauliflower there. It's a kind of a special cauliflower, but regular cauliflower will do as well. That one just looks cool. A very small, tiny bit of it looks like the whole thing. So if you zoomed in on a little tiny bit of it and you looked at the whole thing, you could see that they're very similar. This is a property called self-similarity. This is another example. So this is a special geometrical diagram thing called a Sierpinski triangle in 2 dimensions, and in 3 dimensions it's called a Sierpinski gasket. Now, it has very simple rules for how you make it. So you make, in the 2-dimensional, you make a triangle and you take out the middle. And to go down to the next scale, you make a triangle and you take out the middle. And to go down to the next scale, you make a triangle and you take out the middle. And you make a triangle and you take out the middle. And you can go in finer and finer and make tinier and tinier structures out of this. And what you're doing from a maths perspective when you're doing this is very interesting. So if you think about this, here's my triangle. It has a certain area, right? Well, every time I take out this piece, so let's say this piece is not there anymore, like the hole here, I'm taking away some of the volume, some of the area of my triangle, but I'm adding in some perimeter. So now the perimeter, inside and outside, is a little bit bigger. So if I keep doing this, eventually, if I was able to do this tinier and tinier to infinity, this would have no area, but it would have infinite surface perimeter. So it would be very, very surface perimeter. Well, your lungs are shaped not to infinity, but they're shaped very similarly. So here's your trachea, and you have your lung structure branches off once, and then it branches off again, and again, and it starts to get finer and finer. And so here's, say, the surface, the area, the volume that your lungs takes up. All of these little branches take up the volume that your lungs have with a limited volume that they're in that has a humongous surface area that actually allows the air from the outside to come in and be put into our blood in a really, really efficient way. So this is why we can actually, kind of move around and jump and go, because we have an amazing capacity to get oxygen from the air into our blood. Now, yes?
Would it be tennis court size?
It could be tennis court sized. Okay. I think it could be. Yeah. I think somebody knows this. That's actually the fact, I believe. So it's the surface area of your lungs is the size of a tennis court in the volume of that. So it's quite small. Now, what happens when you have emphysema or something like that? Well, you start to lose some of those finer, tinier structures, some of the alveoli in your lungs. And so the amount of oxygen that you can breathe in with the air and put into your lungs goes down. And so that's why people can get short of breath and need to be on pure oxygen to get as much oxygen into their blood as possible, because they have a limited amount of surface area that they can do this with. And one of the other amazing things about your lungs, and about fractals actually, is there's really simple rules for how they're made. So like this rule, you take out the middle. That's the only rule. When you're still growing in utero, if something were to happen to your lung and it somehow got squashed or part of it went missing, the rest of the fractal that is your lung could actually take over that area and could regrow that. It has an amazing capacity to grow. And because it's a simple structure, it's not like the body has to remember, okay, gosh, must remember, grow fingers, then arm and stuff. It's really simple. Branch, grow, and it keeps going like that. So it can take on many different shapes, and it grows to the size of the container that it has. So, yes?
So you talk about the loss at the end. So does smoking attack the very ends first? Is that where smoking starts to deteriorate the lungs?
Yes. Yeah. So it starts as the gentleman said, these ends are they're really easily kind of clogged. The ends are really where the exchange of oxygen going into your blood happens. So if you start to damage those, you start to have a bit of problems. So that's all I have to say. That's the end of my talk. Are there any questions?